We just got to stand on the truth. We got to stand on what is right, regardless of people yelling, screaming, calling us names. And we have to realize that we have a moral high ground, and we cannot allow people to take that away. I think that there are more people that believe in our Constitution, what is right and what is true, than there are of the others that try to take that away from us.
Could there be people who are actually profiting from inflaming the division even more in this country? I mean, it seems like there are nefarious forces at work that go beyond just you and me having different opinions on how to fix, immigration or the economy.
No, you're absolutely right. And I think that there was a saying, if it bleeds, it leads. There are people out there in the media that want to foment that division. They want to source and sow that discourse and discontent out there instead of looking for the places where we can come together. But right now, Kirk, there are two different philosophies of governance. And again, the United States of America was founded on a premise of individual rights, freedoms, liberties, and individual sovereignty. That's really classical liberalism, today's modern constitutional conservatism. And the individual is elevated over the institution of government. The government exists by the consent of those that are being governed, not ruled by edict, order, decree, and mandate. But the contrasting philosophy puts the institution of government above the individual. And that ends up being this progressivism, socialism, Marxism, statism, communism. And so it's two very different philosophies of governance, and this country needs to make a choice. But sadly, we're not teaching our history. We're not teaching the civics. We're not teaching those fundamentals of a constitutional republic. And so therefore, you get to a point where all of a sudden, back 21 years ago after 9/11, the first place that everyone wanted to go after that catastrophic event was to church. But then fast forward to March of 2020, when we go into this COVID issue, the very first thing that government wants to shut down is the church. Not Walmart, not McDonald's, not the strip club, not the liquor store, not even the marijuana store, not even abortion clinics, but they want to shut down the church. So I think that is indicative of this incredible chasm that is developed in this country, which is philosophical in nature and spiritual also.
How do we preserve the right to disagree without allowing that to devolve into division that destroys us?
Mm-hmm. Well, one of the things that the founders, Benjamin Franklin, Thomas Jefferson, talked about is that a constitutional republic like the United States of America is so dependent upon an educated electorate. And what we have now are people out there that can tell you what Kim Kardashian did last week, but they cannot tell you that 2 weeks ago was the 235th anniversary of the signing of the Constitution of the United States of America. And so you're right. You have people out there that don't understand. I have the freedom of speech. I have freedom of expression. That is in the Constitution. That's part of our Bill of Rights. But what is happening is freedom of accepted speech. That's what we're coming to. And you have not just government, but other private sector entities that are the real fascists out there that are trying to shut down any type of dissenting opinion, thought, perspective, and insight. And how interesting, we have an organization, a group that called Antifa, which stands for anti-fascist. But what they actually go out and do is beat up people that disagree with them. Well, that's the nature of fascism. So I think that we have an education issue here in the United States of America. And how do we, coming back to what you were talking about, how do we, cross that bridge? How do we build a bridge between this incredible chasm? We just got to stand on the truth. We got to stand on what is right, regardless of people yelling, screaming, calling us names. And we have to realize that we have a moral high ground, and we cannot allow people to take that away. I think that there are more people that believe in our Constitution, what is right and what is true, than there are of the others that try to take that away from us.
With people getting discouraged when they see the division that's characterizing our country and culture and the narratives going on right now, do you think that there is real hope for America? Can we really make a difference? Can we turn the ship around? And can it start with this midterm election? Or do you think that we're too far gone?
No, I don't think we're too far gone. As a matter of fact, it started last year in Virginia, when the gubernatorial candidate there in Virginia, Terry McAuliffe, on a debate stage, and he said parents do not have a right to decide what their children are being taught or educated. You saw people that had no concern about the election process or no concern about politics come out and all of a sudden get involved, engaged. the most important elected position in the United States of America is school board. But it routinely has been the election that has the least amount of voter participation. Now, all of a sudden, people are paying attention to school boards.
That's
They're
right.
finding out the type of books that are, in our schools. So I do see a change happening. It started last year in Virginia, and I think it will continue on.
I love that. That's exactly what we need to be doing. Change has to start at our house before we're going to see it at the White House. And that's the way that we want it to be, because like we talked earlier, we the people are the sovereign. And we've got to remember that.
And remember what Joshua said, choose for yourselves today whom you shall serve, being the gods of the Amorites or the gods from across the river. But as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord.
I personally have so much respect for you, and so many people do, because you stand for truth and you have conviction of character. But sometimes it's not a war situation where it's this military against that military and we're standing for truth and you're not. Sometimes it's at the Thanksgiving table, and I don't want to be in a battle against my brother or my sister or my mother-in-law. So what are some of the strategies that you have used to hang on to your convictions but still build bridges with people that you love to keep the relationship?
Look, I give you a great example, because I believe that you have to be the one that leads the way in your home. My youngest daughter's fiance, his cousin, came over to visit, and I was back in the back doing some things, and I came out and saw the young man. He did not have a belt on, and he had a do-rag. And I told him, in my house, you don't wear do-rags, and you will have a belt. And I went and got him a belt. And at first he thought I was playing around and kidding. And then I had to give him the old Colonel stare, and he understood that I was not kidding. So I think it's so important, again, it starts in your home.
What are some of the ways that you stay in line with God?
I have my biblical devotional every morning. After I have my morning run, I always ask Lord to bless me with wisdom and discernment. And I always believe that every single day you got to ask the Lord to help you put on the full armor of God, because we are in an ideological or spiritual battlefield. And just the same as when I was on the battlefields, Iraq, Afghanistan, Kuwait, you did not go out on the battlefield without your helmet, without your body armor, without your boots, without your weapon. And God breaks that down. Paul breaks that down for us in Ephesians chapter 6, verses 10 through 18. So we're not just fighting against flesh and blood. We're fighting against some principalities out there, and we've got to be prepared for that. And you've got to do it by going to the Lord every single day in prayer, getting into his word and studying and fortifying yourself.
And finally, Alan, what is your prayer for the United States of America right now?
That we can be restored to what God would have us to be. We can work toward his perfect will, not be trying to skirt and be in his permissive will, that the body of Christ will understand that they're supposed to transform this nation through his mind and for his will, and not conform to the culture. So I just pray that we will have leaders that will stand up and say what needs to be said, and not just leaders that want to tickle people's ears, and that starts in our church.
Hi, I'm Kirk Cameron. Thanks for watching this clip from my interview with Lieutenant Colonel Alan V. West. Please like and leave a comment on this video. And if you're not subscribed, please hit the subscribe button and ring the bell so you never miss another episode.